Hi, everybody. I'm Jesse.
I'm Jeff.
And you're watching the Patreon bonus stories, and you are our wonderful patrons. So, welcome. First story that we're talking about today is something that I didn't know because I am an American, and I studied in American public schools, and we learned about America. We learned about the Revolutionary War. We beat the Brits. We learned about all the other wars where we won every single one of them, right? Every single one of them we won, except for the Vietnam War. It's kind of, maybe we didn't win that one. We're not really sure. We definitely won all the rest of them. But anyway.
Because we're America.
That's beside the point. One thing that I didn't learn about when I was learning about like the Civil War, for instance, was that in England in 1833, this is some 30 years before the American Civil War, 1833, the British government passed the Slavery Abolition Act.
What was that?
Basically what this did was it gradually freed all the slaves in the British Empire, and then it paid 20 million pounds to the slave owners as economic compensation. Now, 20 million pounds back then was about 5% of the British GDP at the time. So they had to take out massive loans from banks in order to pay this. They had been paying these loans until 2015. So just 3 years ago, they stopped paying for the loans that paid the slave owners to give up their slaves.
That's incredible. To do the right thing.
And here's the thing. There was no other reason that England really did this. There's not too much political motivation other than the support of the people. Everyone in the country said, you know, again, there was no Facebook, there were no movies, there were no films, there was no photographs. All of this was from, you know, writings and, you know, drawings and, you know, accounts, you know, newspaper kind of accounts of what slavery was and how it was affecting people. And the British populace said, this is unethical and we're going to have to get rid of it. And they paid a huge amount of money, again, 5% of their GDP, to abolish slavery. You might be asking, Jesse, why on earth are you talking about this?
Why on earth are you talking about this?
Yeah. You know, I don't subscribe, you know, I don't pay to watch these, you know, this isn't a history channel. Here's the thing. Could we do the same thing with the fossil fuel industry? Now, obviously, the fossil fuel industry doesn't have slaves, or at least too many slaves
that we know
in other countries.
Yes.
But could we pay the fossil fuel industry for their stranded assets to have them stop pumping oil? Now, obviously, we need to have solutions for our energy that, you know, aren't fossil fuels before then. But if, as a world, as a global community, if we were to say, you know, this is bad. This is not only just ethically bad, which it is. It's not only morally bad, which it is, but this is going to truly affect all of our future generations, including us. Like, it's not just like our grandkids and our great-great-great-great-great-grandkids. Like, we're not just screwing them over, we're screwing ourselves over. Yeah. As we've seen, if you live in Europe right now, you've just had like the hottest summer you've ever had. You probably lost 10 pounds or something, right? So, I mean, it's a very interesting question because at some point we're going to need to full stop, no more fossil fuels. Right?
I think we're going that direction, but the problem is we're going at such a slow rate. We need to go faster and not do what we're doing, which is opening up the areas for exploration,
right?
You know, for other rigs to be set up.
Right.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
We need to stop having new rigs set up.
Right. And I mean, I think a lot of this is, it needs to come from everyone, basically. And I mean, a large part of what we do this channel for is to educate, because we want to, and I mean, I suppose most people watching this channel, most of you who have, you know, paid $1 more a month to support us, probably believe in climate change. So, I mean, I know that in some ways we're just preaching to the choir, but you still have a voice. And I encourage you to use it. You know, when someone says some false fact about climate change, I don't know what it's going to take to prove to people that it's real. I think that it needs to be close to home. I think that having someone else tell you something is not the same as experiencing it firsthand. I think that the things that really change people are when it affects someone.
Like food prices. When food prices change and you go out to a restaurant and it's costing more money now than it did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or when you go to the grocery store and you're buying food, it costs more. Why? Because of transportation costs.
Right.
Weather issues,
Right. I think that it's very similar to gay marriage in a way. I think that a lot of people you just didn't ever encounter it in your life, right? Mm-hmm. And so when, the public opinion was, well, gay people shouldn't be allowed to get married, the thought was, of course, and no one, it was so taboo that it was under the radar. You didn't hear about it. You might know someone who was homosexual, and you wouldn't even know because they wouldn't tell you because you'd hate them. What happened was, I think that with the movement of the gay pride movement, and I'm not saying it's just the gay pride movement, but basically what happened is when it's widespread enough to the point where people actually come out and tell their families, you really have to make a choice. You have to make a decision, right? And I know this is not related to EVs again. I'm getting off topic, but people have to be like, okay, am I going to disown my son or daughter, or am I going to grow and learn as a person? And I think that enough people made that decision, and not all of them did, but enough people did to the point where,
and continue to, I think,
right, that it's no longer so taboo that we're able to now have conversations about it, and that it's no longer become such a rarity, that basically people, you probably know someone who is gay. And that means that when you're about to say something nasty or awful or horrible, or you're thinking that, you're going to be reminded of that person. You're going to be like, well, that person's pretty nice, and you have enough of that, it changes your mind completely. So what we need to do is, convince people, like, look, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. And I think that it's very easy to be like, oh, you terrible person, how dare you not believe the gospel of the truth? Very easy to do that because they're wrong, and you can just be like, you scum, you have no knowledge of this. It's very easy to do that. I've done that so much in my life. Yeah. And I think that we need to approach it in a different way. You need to break it down into a level where they can understand. Right? Whether it's like, this hot weather we've been having, it's because of climate change. And then when they come at you with some kind of like, no, it's the sun, you can be like, look, man, I respect you. I want you to
understand
this.
The facts.
Yeah. Read this, read this. You
can have your own opinion, but you can't have your own facts.
It's a tough battle. And I think that we're slowly winning. We're slowly fighting it. But we need everyone on board, or a vast majority of people on board, so we can stop this madness. Anyway, that's that story. That's one story under the belt. Whew. Let's move on to something a little bit lighter, a little bit more fun. This is a really cool EV trailer that I've seen. And it's gone to a completely different concept than most trailers that I've been talking with people. These are, just people that on the street that I'm like, or friends I know that are like, oh, cool, EVs. What if you had a trailer that had batteries in it and then you could plug in your car? And I'm like, oh, but most cars, you can't plug in to charge while you're driving, right? There's no system for that. This trailer...
If there was, it would be dangerous, like a long extension cord while you're driving.
It could be, right, yeah. But again, no range anxiety.
That's true.
But anyway, this trailer fixes it in a different way. There are batteries on board, but there's also a motor. So there's motors on board. So it's basically pulling its own weight. So when you're driving, the Model X can tow, but it loses a huge amount of range when it's towing something big because of air resistance, and it's heavy, and you have to pull it uphill, all that stuff. So you put motors in it. Now it's pulling its own weight, so your car is basically just driving regularly. They put solar panels on the roof, and this has like a 92 kilowatt hour battery. So when you get to your campsite or whatever, you've got plenty of juice, plenty of power. There's solar panels on the roof, so you're always topped off. You guys have to see this. We're going to chop up the video a little bit because I don't want you to see all of it. You should head over to the channel. We'll put the link down below and watch this guy. So he's made, he's taken, first of all, like the most iconic vehicle ever, the VW microbus, put solar panels on the top and an actuated canopy, converted it completely to EV. That is so cool.
I wish I had the talent to be able to do that.
I know. I wish I had the know-how. I want him to write a book of like, here's what I did, here's what I learned. I'd buy that book, right?
Sure.
Anyway.
Or you could pay him and he could build me one.
Yeah.
He could open his own business.
I would absolutely pay him for one of those, right?
Crazy.
This is really cool. It's something that I don't think we've talked enough about. Obviously, we're going to get, Zach and I are going to get the semi-tractor trailer truck. Yes. And we're definitely going to have a trailer that is a house with solar and everything. It's going to be a lot like this, right? Well, a little different. More range, everything like that. Sure. But
same kind of concept.
Yeah, and this is very, like the guy says in the video, you have everything that you need right there, so there's no rush, right? Because when you're usually driving in a car doesn't have a kitchen.
Yep.
Car doesn't have, you know, all of the things that it doesn't have a refrigerator, all the things that you need. Having a mobile home, essentially, you know, an RV. RVs are very popular. Having an electric one where you can just drive, keep driving, and never stop driving. You know, obviously you stop and you charge with a solar canopy, but there's no like, are we going to make it to the charging station?
Sure.
Should we really go up this mountain? Because what if we can't make it back down and all the way back to civilization to charge? You lose all of that having this huge solar array. I think it's so cool to be able to go drive into the wilderness and be like, let's keep going. You know?
And this vehicle was built in 1973.
Yeah.
So it's not like this brand new 2017 kind of thing. So it has, you know, the old kind of vintage feel,
right?
But with the upgraded interior, all the comforts of home. It's awesome.
And this is sort of, to me, it's more exciting than most electric concept vehicles because this is a concept in a way, right? It is a concept.
Sure.
It's a whole concept. And it's not, there's no gimmicks, you know, it's just some guy made it, right? And it works for him. I think that makes it a proven concept in a way. And I want one. I mean, I would take it with the lead acid batteries in the 50-mile range. Imagine if you just lived in one of those, you know? Imagine if we all had one of those,
cool.
You know? Imagine how the world would be different if we didn't, you know, have these houses and, I don't know, just getting into some
going into pathways here.
deep conversation. But anyway, thank you so much for supporting this show. We really appreciate it. We couldn't do this show without you. And, you know, this has been 2 years of doing Tesla Time News. Episode 104, there's 52 weeks in a year. 52 times 2 is 104. So we've done it for 2 years. We're not stopping. Zach finally went on vacation for a week. This is the longest I have not seen my father in 2 years.
How's that feel? A little too good?
Weird. It's so weird. I can't tell you how weird it is to see your dad every day as a 24-year-old. Not every day, every week.
And then not.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you on behalf of all the people out there watching. I want to thank you and your dad for doing this show.
Thank
It's pretty
you.
impressive. You bring a lot of news, a lot of hope to people's lives. And I think people check in every single time. Oh, a new video. Click, click, click.
Thank you.
And they can't wait to watch it. So you guys do an unbelievable job. You guys know it, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of work that they put in and a lot of research.
Yeah. And I want to thank Jeff because he was a great sport. Showed up early this morning before I even got here. Ready, raring to go, and then we spent, you know, how long did it take to set up everything?
While.
Yeah, it took a while. Obviously, Zach wasn't here to set up all the different stuff, but anyway, thank you so much for bearing with us here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
All right, we're gonna head back over to the show. Thank you so much for watching. Now you know.
I know.